Hey guys, real quick, before we jump into today's episode, my book, Get Wealthy for Sure, the number one financial strategy for business owners to multiply wealth predictably, has been a bestseller and it continues to reach more and more people because of all the support. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for sharing this with family, friends, coworkers, and everybody that you know. To show my appreciation for all of our podcast listeners, I'm giving away a free ebook and audiobook version of the book, Get Wealthy for Sure. All you have to do to download your free ebook and your free audiobook is go to getwealthyforsure.com. That's getwealthyforsure.com. The world is going through changes. Changes happening at a speed that we have never seen before. This is leading to disruption, chaos, panic, fear, hysteria, and a turbulent economy and marketplace. How do you protect your wealth in a turbulent world? How do you invest for cash flow in alternative assets to escape the rat race in times of uncertainty? How do you decentralize yourself, your family, your community, your business, and your investments to become sovereign and escape the matrix? If you are looking for strategies, tactics, and techniques to escape the rat race and matrix, you are in the right place. My name is MC Lobsher, and this is Cashflow Ninja. This is Cashflow Ninja. I'm MC Lobsher. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode and spending your most valuable resource, your time, once again with me on the show. Everything Cashflow Ninja is at cashflowninja.com. That's cashflowninja.com. We've got over 1,000 podcasts, 4 books, reports, webinars, and much, much more, all at cashflowninja.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the number one newsletter in the alternative wealth strategy and alternative asset investing space, the Wealth Dojo. You can subscribe to the Wealth Dojo by going to cashflowninja.com/subscribe. I've got a fantastic show for you today. I'm joined by Jason Rule. Jason is an incredible entrepreneur. He's built multiple businesses and exited multiple businesses. And Jason, thank you for coming on the show and great to see you.
Thanks for having me on, MC. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to our conversation. You're involved with a lot of different cool things. But for my listeners and my viewers that's not familiar with you and what you get up to these days, can you share a little bit about your background and journey and what you do get up to these days?
How far do you want me to go back?
This one time I was a very little boy, growing up.
Yeah, exactly. No, like a lot of entrepreneurs that are guys 40s and beyond, I'm 50 now. Dropped out of college, just wasn't my jam, wasn't my thing. I ran track, I was a sprinter. And when I got to the point where I had a messed up hip pretty bad, so I couldn't run anymore. So I just dropped out and started studying sales, psychology, marketing. And I ended up, I think when I was 22, I built my first, now keep in mind I was 22. So this would have been about 98 or 99. I built my first software company. Well, I didn't buy it. I hired somebody to build this database. And thankfully I found a mentor that was a consultant for Kelley Blue Book. And he said, hey, what you have here is a standard footprint for what every car dealer in the nation should have. So I started licensing that out, ended up selling that, bought a couple GNCs, franchisees, started a chain of coffee shops, mostly to pay for the real estate, started another SaaS company. Over the last 30 years, I've started 19 different companies and I have exited 16. Everything from software, brick and mortar, retail stores. I mean, the list goes on. And I'm just eternally curious. The longest stint that I had with one company was I built a supplement company up for 19 years from the GNC space. I didn't like the way a lot of the supplement companies were being run. They played the game of the units, right? So supplement company, it's about units. Once you get up to where you're selling a couple million units, if you shave a dime or a nickel or a quarter out of raws, then you just print more money, right? You get an instant boost in your ROI. So I didn't like that. So I used my stores as a way to fund the products that I wanted to create. Then I rolled that into started focusing on CrossFit, because CrossFit, I really connected with the space of the CrossFitters. From like they're genuine, they're down to earth. They just respect people that do things, not necessarily for how they look or how they're perceived. And that was always one of the struggles that I had with the bodybuilding space, is they're judging people based off of what they see. Once I went all in the supplement space for CrossFit gyms, I think that's one of the reasons that Carl, your friend and coworker, I got along well with him, is that I started seeing early on, like this was early days of CrossFit. Like this is driven by people that were past military, firefighters, law enforcement. They had a desire to serve. Well, at that point, I'd been an entrepreneur for 20 years, and everybody was coming up to me saying, "Hey, I don't care if I make a profit. I just want a really good product to offer my members." And I remember standing in a group of them, and I'm just really blunt. If you ask me a question or say something, I'm going to answer it to the best of my ability. And I said, "Well, guys, that's admirable, but that's stupid. Are you guys running a hobby or running a business? Because you can't do both. So number one, you should only sell something if you believe in it. Number two, you should only do something in business if it's going to benefit you and your business. You need to get an ROI out of it and do so ethically." So leaning into that, we became the largest distributor in the world of supplements to CrossFit gyms. And we were based out of Springfield, Missouri. At the time, I was growing the company from where my wife and we've got 4 kids. We lived in Hayes. So it was getting to the point where I couldn't keep operational control. The wheel was just getting too big. So we moved out here. Our kids were at the age where Elliot was going to be a freshman in high school. Peyton, our youngest, was going to be a 6th grader. So they were going to be transitioning to new schools. So we moved during the summer to try to make it as least impactful as we could, because I only wanted to do it once. And we've found an amazing community here in southwestern Missouri. So fast forward, COVID hit, and I leaned hard into that. And so the community of CrossFit, they all had to close down. So I actually created a platform, because I brought back some of my marketing chops of what I learned in my early days of being an entrepreneur. And our focus was always built around this: is, does it help our affiliates? And if it does, then that's something we would implement out. I had an amazing team. So we ended up building something that allowed the affiliates to generate revenue from selling supplements using affiliate systems that we had. And then once COVID was over, I just got to the point I was ready to be done. I was ready for a different transition phase of my life. I didn't know what that was going to look like. Sold those companies coming up on 4 years. Yeah, in October, 4 years. So when I sold those supplement companies, I really, like I said, I had some offers. Hey, you want to do this? Hey, you want to do that? And when a friend of mine asked me to go through the mentorship course to review it, and because I told him, I said, I really have, I want to take what I know in my capital and create generational wealth. I know I can't do that. I know it's harder to do that in one business. So I'm going to take what I know and spread it across and geometrically grow these things and these entities. And if they cross pollinate, all the better. And he said, because, coming from the number of companies that I've started and ran, I've just got a weird set of tools. And with that, it comes down to, okay, which one is the most critical one to focus on now? So clarity, and asking the right question is 80% of the problem to solving the problem. And that course helped me a lot. And through that, I ended up, like I just told people, like I post about it. And what ended up happening was I ended up getting hired as a mentor in some cases, and I approach it from nose in, hands out, to where I take a look at it and I say, okay, hey, there's some gears, there's some levers in here in your business that aren't optimized. You're doing these things, you're doing them inefficiently. Fix this here. And usually those allow and reduce the friction of those businesses. And in some cases, I was given the opportunity of, hey, do you have a team that wants to do this? And them asking me, and I was like, yeah. And so if it's a nose in, hands out, nose in, hands in, then there's an equity position that comes into play. So I'm given equity, and then distributions and everything kick in. So I'm trying to take what I know and grow companies and create that generational wealth. From that, I was working inside of a platform called GoHighLevel 5 years ago, and I knew that all of the things that needed to be done that I built in Infusionsoft, and plus this, I'm a nerd. I knew that everything needed to live inside of high level. So I just absolutely mastered that to the degree that I could. And I had a very talented developer that would develop the things so that I needed high level to do that I didn't have the capacity to do. And he and I have an incredibly high level of trust. He came to me one time. I wish I could take credit for it. He came to me one time and he said, Jason, you know, all of these things that you're having me build for your clients, every business inside of high level needs them. Cool. And he goes, we should make a company and sell them to people. I was like, okay, cool. So this is probably one of my favorite parts of the story. Um, so Ezekiel came to me and said, hey, we can turn these things into products. And I remember I was down at our cabin down on Table Rock, and um, I asked him, and it's amazing to think about now, because it's been 4 years. Yeah, 3 years this year. Um, I'm sitting there, sitting on a laptop, talking to somebody that I've worked with for a few years, just on and off as well as full time. Um, and he's in Cameroon, Africa. And I said, okay, Ezekiel, if these are things that can be built, like I don't have a name in the high level space. I normally operate behind uh, closed doors. I just like doing my business, hanging out with my family, and that's what I like to do. And I said, of everybody that you could do this with and for, why would you want to do it with me? And the dude looked at me halfway across the world, sitting there screen to screen, and he was 21 years old. I mean, think about this for a second. 21-year-olds, I mean, they don't have the same opportunities we have in Cameroon.
No.
Uh, he was incredibly talented, man of God, faithful, honest. Every time I'd ask him something, he would answer it honestly, and we just had that mutual agreement that we would behave with ethics. And he looked at me halfway across the world and he said, Jason, he said, every time I've worked with you, and there's other people that I've worked with inside of this space, every time I've worked with you, you've given me access to everything I needed to do the job. And he said, what I found is that trust is a mirror.
It's pretty
And
powerful.
yeah. And so I leaned back and I sat there and stared at him for probably about 15 seconds. And I said, okay, what do you need? And he said, uh, I need to stop everything I'm doing. I need this much money. I need to hire 6 full-time developers. And in 6 months, I'll bring you back products that will be better than anything else on the market. And so I said, let me talk to Val, my bride, um, and I'll get back with you tomorrow. I said, but I I appreciate the opportunity. He said, well, he said the truth is like you brought me into this space, but also like these things that you've been having me build, these are your ideas, and I have ideas to stack on top of them, and these can be powerful. I said, okay. So talked to Val about it, and she said, what's the worst that can happen? I said, well, the worst that can happen is I wire this money over to Cameroon and we never see it again or never hear from anybody again. And she said, that's just money, right? Yeah. It's just money. That's one way to look at it. And she asked me, do you trust him? And I said, yes, I absolutely trust him. She said, okay, do what you need to do. So we did. And actually today, so since then, what we've done is we've built 16 plugins, which, well, actually we've built 22 or 23 plugins, but as high level starts to make something that either competes against it or surpasses the ability of it, we still support the ones that we've built, but we no longer enhance that plugin. So it's just off to the side. But we set a goal last year at the summit, which we sponsored. We're sponsoring it again this year. We set a goal to become the preeminent developer inside the high level space. And actually, just today, I got an email confirming our award. We're the largest revenue earner in the developer community, and we're the largest contributing partner. And what we've done over the last 12 months since the summit last year is we've developed over 1,100 apps for the high level marketplace. And in April, what we decided to do was we removed the pricing from them completely to where all 1,200 of our apps are free to all high level users. The only thing that it costs a high level user if they're doing that, using any of our apps, is is the one penny that high level charges for any premium workflow actions. So I'm pretty proud of that to be able to go from two guys just building things that my mentoring clients and my interest businesses needed to being able to win those awards. That's a huge accomplishment for the team, and it all goes to them. We've got a full-time team now of 26 developers, and yeah. What else do you want to know?
No, that's it's a pretty impressive story. I mean, just from where you started out just in the SaaS world, and I mean, like I can only imagine what that looked like in 98, 99. You said you started first
Hmm.
company to
Yeah.
like all the way through coffee shops. I like how you said that you had some retail storefronts to help pay for the real estate. So it was more
Mhm.
it was that was more of a real estate play than just the business on top of it, right? Like the McDonald's model.
Right. Yeah, I learned from that, and I remember people because so we had a very nice building, and it was a Coffee Rules Wine and Spirits Lounge. In fact, we ended up on the front page in the New York Times in Hayes, Kansas. We ended up on the front page in the New York Times. So I remember like I would go up there and have a glass of wine or something, and people were like, "Oh, it must be really nice to have like a coffee shop." And I rarely ever worked there just because I wanted the team to run things. And I was like, guys, honestly, the reason I have this is like it's paying for the real estate. And so having that second and third order consequences of your actions of what it is you're doing. Like, do you want to run a coffee shop? No, not really. Does the town need coffee shops that can pay for the real estate, that you can get a stronger ROI, that you can eventually then either sell or rent to create ongoing income? Yeah, there should always be a second or third reason that you're doing something, especially in business.
Yeah, because yeah, like you were saying, you got the coffee shop, then you have the real estate. Now you've got an asset and a lot of collateral that you
Mhm.
could leverage to grow and scale even that portfolio, right? So did you have a couple of franchises too, or was it just one or two?
Yep. So we had two GNC franchises, and the problem with those is I didn't own anything. Like I had good cash flow. I learned a lot in the industry, but you don't actually own anything. So the next step after I bought the first GNC within 12 months was I started the first Coffee Rules, and we started another one. Then we ended up having three total, and those plays entirely were just to pay for the real estate.
Gotcha. You bring up a really good point, and there might be a lot of people listening to this that look at franchises and dabble in that. You brought up a very good point that you don't really own anything, right? And you're very restricted. So what were some of the positive things that you could take from that, and what were some of the things that you would say to someone before you ever get involved with franchises? These are some of the things that you need to be aware of.
Hmm. That's a deep question. So I will say this: if somebody has a desire to run a business of their own and they just like the structure, then a franchise is good because the SOPs are in place, everything is standardized, your vertical integration is already built. However, if you have a degree of personal drive and severe desire to be creative and learn and to grow something, it can be very restrictive because you don't get to deploy your imagination, which is ironic though. So I'll take that comment to a step because one of the things that can be proven, but in the long term, it proved to be a bad play is the guy that created the $5 footlong, right? The subway thing that exploded, this franchisee down in Florida, he just
Yep.
was crushing it left and right, right? His revenue was skyrocketing. Well, all the other franchisees ran the same play because corporate said, "Hey, let's go ahead and do this," without realizing the reason that corporate's doing is they're vertically integrated. Every time they sell you a loaf of bread or a piece of salami or anything else or an olive, they're making a margin. So of course they're driven by the increase of units. So what I found is that franchisors, they have an obligation to make themselves profitable, and they see franchisees as a profit center. So as long as you go into that fully aware, then I think franchises are good. Otherwise, I would caution it and don't expect to be rewarded for your curiosity and your desire to drive something, with the exception of open new franchises, which just duplicates their profit center.
Gotcha, gotcha. And a lot of that models, you can own you can own the real estate, right? And they have the franchise on top of it, then pay for the real estate. So there's some real estate play there, but in some cases not. They own the real estate too.
Yeah, in some cases, yeah, both. Well, there's the third option is you can own real estate, but they can reject your lease, right? So I know for a fact there's some franchisors out there that generate revenue from the lease agreements that they've negotiated out. If the franchisor has a real estate team,
Mm-hmm.
there's a way they're paying for that.
Yes, that was very interesting. I mean, wow, this is taking me down memory lane. It's about 25 years ago when I really started to get into the real estate game. I actually looked at some of the corporate companies that had real estate departments because, I at that stage had the mentality too, kind of like the rich dad, poor dad, book mentality from Robert Kiyosaki, work to learn instead
Right.
of just for the money. So I was like, I would go and work somewhere at one of these companies for, you know, a year, 2 years. I mean, just think what you could learn from Starbucks as a real estate department. Do you think you
Right.
could learn something from that? Probably, right? Of how neighborhoods are changing around and what you need to look at to position yourself in a
Right.
geographic area. So it's interesting. It's very, very, very interesting. And then what I love about your story is it kind of like, so GNC, you had the track and field background, the athlete, then you had
Mhm.
the GNC kind of part to it, which then grew into the CrossFit, which talk about a world. I mean, you could find worlds everywhere. Hey, you've got kids, dogs. You understand the different worlds that are out there. But that's been a world that just exploded, right? Because it
Yeah.
just took it by storm. It was all of a sudden, it came out of nowhere, and then every other person that I knew, and in my in my world, all former athletes and active
Yeah.
people, they were into CrossFit.
I think one of the things that beyond just the character or the openness of people inside of the CrossFit space, one of the things I liked so much about it was it was good to study human behavior. Like people like us do things like this. Like these are the clothes we wear. Like you wear nanos, you get reband knee sleeves, you get a jump rope, and you start using pre-WOD, you start using post-WOD. All these terms that didn't exist up until about 2008, 2009. And it was just such a perfect example of there's a tribe of people. If you fit in, then you're part of the tribe. But it needs to be consistent, it needs to be congruent. And if you don't fit in, you don't fit in. Even with the community as open, kind, caring, and supportive as CrossFit is, they still have their tribe. This is who we look like. This is what we do. We respect people that do the work. And that's one of the things that drew me to it really was like it reminded me a lot of track is like we were cheering for people in the last place. We were cheering because those people had the damn nerve to keep working their butt off in last place. Like you can't help but cheer for that. And like yeah, I was just absolutely drawn to that community and they accepted us. So it was great. But yeah, CrossFit just absolutely exploded and there's been a lot of brands that came in and then tried to transition over to something else and they found like it's this or it's that. And trying to be two things at once, you jeopardize two brands.
So it's almost like the business lesson here is you've got to find something that, for that, it's like you were building the supplements for CrossFitters. It's like you didn't say active people or, just regular gym goers, or it's like, here's this supplement for CrossFitters, period, the end.
All right. So it was just a step a little past that because CrossFitters, they wanted their gym to be successful. These guys are shelling out $150 to be able to work out in a hot gym that people just open up garage doors. But they knew that the gym owner was serving them. So what I did, and I made it very clear, like we're exclusive to CrossFit gyms, and we want to become, with the exception of their membership, our goal is to become the greatest profit center to the gym themselves. And that was something that actually took me a couple years to own that statement and speak it publicly, because the inverse of it, when I was talking to CrossFitters, like if I didn't go that way, then here's what I'd be abdicating. Instead of looking at CrossFitters saying, guys, when you go buy a supplement, you're buying it from Amazon, you're buying it from the local store. You're not buying it from the head of your tribe, the place where you're working out, that comes in, that supports you, that cheers for you, everything else. If you want your gym to be successful and you're buying supplements, by default, this guy over here, the guy that's offering these supplements, he's only going to sell you things that he believes in. So by having that complete 100% transparency, I was able to operate just the way I like to operate, is like no BS, no fancy marketing. It's like, hey, we offer really good supplements. The gym is going to benefit, you're going to benefit, and then we as a supplement company benefit. Um, and that was really cool to be able to be able to stumble on that little bit of understanding of, yeah, I don't have to hide this. And I would just tell people flat out, with the exception of memberships, our goal is to become the largest profit center in your gym.
It's a win-win all around. And then to your point, where you can then also in your branding, which you mentioned, the problem that you had with supplement companies is they start cutting on the raw materials to
Mhm.
cost cut there to boost the profits once you have the units.
Right.
Now you differentiate yourself there as well.
Mhm. That's exactly right. So we took that same mentality that into the high level space of developing apps. Um, if our apps benefit the businesses within the ecosystem, the agencies where the ecosystem lives, and high level themselves, by default, we should be successful. If we make a quality product and we make a quality product at scale, by default, we should win. Seems like a very simple formula. It's not simple isn't always easy, right?
Yeah.
But that's the formula that I operate under.
It's interesting of your story too, of how you started with SaaS. You went into the coffee shops, GNCs, you found the tribe with CrossFit, and you built and scaled businesses in there. And then eventually come full circle to find a tribe in the SaaS space, which is now this GoHighLevel, which this is a world on it to itself. I mean, I've seen in the past couple of years, ClickFunnels is one of them. Russell
Mhm.
Brunson did a pretty good job of building, a tribe for ClickFunnels. And you had the Infusion soft world, and you've got, Salesforce is kind of like that thing. Go High Level is something else too. It's quite a tribe that is emerging, a very strong one in the SaaS world.
That's a good point. It reminds me a lot of, okay, so how about this? Can we imagine for a moment that ClickFunnels are bodybuilders? Right? They like to post pictures of, hey, I've got these awards. This is my Lambo. I've got so much money.
Yep.
They're renting out cabins that look like jets to be able to sit there with a champagne bottle. And then there's guys like me and I look at that and I'm like, that's not a value that I want to associate with. So I really struggled with, I don't, that I like marketing. I like sales. I like the understanding of it, but I don't like that. That doesn't look like me. And then all of a sudden, high level comes about. So if ClickFunnels are the bodybuilding crowd, I would say the high level and the high levelers are the CrossFitters. They're the ones that do the work quietly. And in fact, if somebody goes into the high level group and they post a picture, the dude got absolutely torched, as he should have. Guy posted a picture. He was leaning down like this. He had two 10, 3 comma, whatever they are, next to his Lambo. And he's like, ask me any questions. And I mean, that guy got absolutely torched, as he should have. Read the room, dude. That belongs in ClickFunnels. So uh, I think your insight was good. I think that ClickFunnels are the bodybuilders. They're there for show. They like the appearance. That's what they're drawn towards. And in high level, they do the work. They just want leverage. They go and they do the work, and they have a high level of respect for just people that can do it, and they do it ethically.
I think there's also, and maybe you can comment on this, or what you're seeing in the marketing world too. I feel like there is a very big desire for authenticity and actual, just real people. Just, you know, stating the facts, telling the truth. Just this is how it is, because of all the just all these fluffy rainbow pony stuff kind of like thing, right? Lambos and big
Mhm.
houses and all this stuff, which none of this stuff is real. It's just so funny that everybody gets depressed watching social media, which none of it is real of.
Right.
That's on there. What's your take in the marketing world? What are you seeing?
I've never shared this before I've shared this with friends. Um, do we have time for me to go down a rabbit hole?
Absolutely.
All right, let's do it. All right, do you remember the live version of Tarzan when like he goes out in the woods? There's a point to this story, I promise. Um, he's living at home. Jane's there, like he's settled, he's domesticated, but he finds out that people are going to go out into the woods and like I remember our oldest son, who's 24 now, Elliot. We went to the show, and it was an amazing moment, and I saw it. But well, Tarzan goes out, and he has to go out, and he has to find his tribe of gorillas that he was raised with. Do you remember this show at all?
Y- yes.
Okay, there's a moment when they find them, and I can't remember what his badass brother's name was, but like I mean, he's a silverback. Like it doesn't matter how big he is, like he's gonna rip your arm off and just beat you with it. But there's a moment when Tarzan, I think Samuel L. Jackson, I think was even an actor, and he says, no matter what happens, do not get involved. Even if he kills me, do not try to help me. Takes off his shirt and he goes toe to toe against this, and it's not Kerchak. I can't remember what his brother's name is. But he said, I have to fight him in order to be able to be accepted back into the tribe. So he did. Of course, he lost, but he fought tooth and nail. And at one point, you think he's going to win because he's got him in a chokehold. I mean, he's bearing down, but of course, he gets his rear handed to him. And then all of the apes go nuts. They start cheering for the alpha. For me, that was a really hard moment because I was in the supplement space, and there's people like Andy Frisella, and this was right when Andy was starting to get traction. Grant Cardone, these guys that these alphas of, hey, you have to be so big, you have to fly a helicopter. It was a really hard moment for me to see that and be like, is it in our nature that we can only cheer for the alphas? And then when you watch it, Tarzan gets what he wants because he realized he didn't have to be the alpha. He just came in, he accomplished his goal by doing what needed to be done and then saving everybody. He ends up being the hero of it. But over the last, I say the decade of the alpha is about over, and it's lasted for about 15, almost 20 years. And I really look forward to the time to where we just stop. We stop the need to say, hey, if you do this, you're not a man, or the only way that you can go in, you have to go in, you have to lean into somebody and take their handshake, or you have to be the loudest guy in the room. A lot of cases, you just kind of sound like an asshole. Um, and I think that what you're intuiting is we're on that other side of that curve to where people are realizing that you can be an alpha, you can be outgoing, but at some point people are going to see who you are, or you're just going to get tired of faking it. So you might as well be yourself. And then that way you genuinely have a reason to be happy if somebody likes you, because the inverse is not true.
Yeah. It's powerful stuff. Um, we talk a lot of about business. We talk about investing, cash flow,
Mhm.
all that kind of stuff on the show, but we also talk about living and leaving a legacy. Just living a life that for a much, much bigger purpose, right? So I always ask my first time guests, if you cannot pass on any money to future generations, but you're only allowed to pass on, three principles or values to them, that will help them achieve happiness and success and be some valuable assets in life, what would they be?
For my kids.
Yes, just in general, if you, for the next generation, if you're speaking to them, but if you want to share what you teach your kids too, would appreciate it.
Yeah. So one of the things we do as soon as our kids turn 14, we get them a stock account and start talking about trading. We have a stock thread. Well, Lakin, he's 12. He's our youngest. Greenlight, I think is the name of it now. So he can invest there. So like any chores that they do, anything else, like, hey, put money away, find a way, buy risky stocks, buy non-risky stocks, and make mistakes before you're 18 because the price of those mistakes are a lot cheaper. So that's one. Invest early, and don't be scared to make mistakes because you will, and you learn from them. The third one is, or the second one is, I would say read a lot of books. Um, by read a lot of old books because they've stood the test of time. Think and Grow Rich. Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad are on the same time. There's two other amazing books, The Automatic Millionaire and The Millionaire Next Door. Those are amazing books, and I have yet to come across somebody that is mid 40s to mid 50s or 60s that didn't read those books within the first couple of years. Like there's a group of guys that I work out with that are very accomplished, and like just one of them was asking, "Hey, what's some of your favorite books?" And I told him, it's like every hand went up, like, "Oh yeah, I read that when I was 20." Yeah, of course you did. Like success leaves clues, right?
Yep.
Um, and I think the third one is don't think linearly, think from a geometric standpoint. What are the levers that create torque or force on the thing that you're trying to apply force to?
Very, very powerful. I asked you a little bit about marketing and what you're seeing there. What are you seeing in business for the next 5 to 10 years? Obviously, AI is coming in and doing a lot of things, but what are some of the things that are interesting to you that you're looking at?
Mm. I can't I can't predict what impact AI is going to have because I don't know that anybody can, even those that are working directly with it. It's just growing so fast and it's smarter than we are at this point. So our ability to comprehend the rate that it can expand is hard to imagine. Um, from a business standpoint, I think now is the time for that decade of the alpha to just stop. And to add on what I said earlier, the trust factor that comes into play by people being genuine, people genuinely wanting to help, wanting to trust. One of the things that I found is trust is a superpower. In order to really be able to get things done at scale, you have to be willing to trust explicitly. In order to be able to have things done for you or to people to be able to pay you enough money to create that wealth, you have to be able to be trusted. So I think developing any level of just common sense around trust and being a good person, which that goes back to help, which is Zig Ziglar's, you can have everything you want if you can help enough other people get what they want. I don't think that I think the business trends are going to go and they're going to go away. They're going to change, but those tried and tested things, I don't think will go away at all. So I think that those people that continue to learn those areas will do good in 5 to 10 years, regardless of any impact that AI might have.
Awesome, awesome. Jason, where can folks connect with you? Where can they follow what you're up to, and where can they learn more about the great stuff that you're doing with your company inside of GoHighLevel?
Yeah. So the company name is GHL Plugins, ghlplugins.com. We're on I mean, we really don't have a social media platform. We don't, because there's an ecosystem inside of High Level. It's the official High Level Facebook group, and that's about where we live. But GHLplugins.com, we don't do anything on social media. We probably should. Probably need to hire somebody to do that now that I think about it. But yeah, that's interesting, because we've just been in a season of growth. How do we hit that level of preeminence? So now I probably need to do a better job of trenching in our brand.
No, Jason, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your journey and your knowledge, and just providing such valuable insights and providing so much value for our listeners and viewers.
Right on. Thanks for having me, MC. It was a pleasure talking with you.
And thank you to all of my listeners and my viewers for, again, spending your most valuable resource, your time, with me on the show. Everything Cashflow Ninja is at cashflowninja.com. That's cashflowninja.com. We've got over 1,000 podcast episodes, 4 books, reports, webinars, and much, much more, all at cashflowninja.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the #1 newsletter in the alternative wealth strategy and alternative asset investing space, the Wealth Dojo. You can subscribe to the Wealth Dojo by going to cashflowninja.com/subscribe. Until next time, live infinitely.
This presentation is for educational and informational purposes only. The information being presented and considered does not consider your particular financial objectives or situation, and it does not make personalized recommendations. This material is not intended to replace the advice of a qualified tax and legal advisor or other qualified professionals, and you should not use the information in place of a customized consultation with a licensed professional regarding your specific personal financial objectives, situation, and needs. We believe the information provided is reliable, but we do not guarantee its accuracy, timeliness, or completeness.